The pen looked ordinary. Black, slim, the kind you'd find in any hospital room. Sitting on a bedside table next to a glass of water and a stack of get-well cards. But Marcus Webb wasn't looking at it like it was ordinary. His hand trembled as he held it up to the light. The small lens was almost invisible. Hidden in the clip, professional, expensive, the kind of surveillance equipment that didn't end up in a hospital, sweet by accident. Marcus had been a royal protection officer for 12 years. He'd swept rooms in palaces, embassies, and private estates across 3 continents. He knew what he was looking at. Someone had planted a recording, a device in Kate's hospital room. The February wind rattled the windows of the London clinic as Marcus stood frozen, his mind racing. Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, had been recovering here for 2 weeks following abdominal surgery. The entire 4th floor had been cleared. Security was airtight, or so they thought. Before we continue with what Marcus did next, if you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button. You won't believe where this goes. Marcus's throat felt dry. He glanced at the door. Kate was in physical therapy down the hall. He had maybe 10 minutes before she returned. His first instinct was to call his superior, James Lockhart. James was head of security for the royal detail. A man with 30 years of experience and a reputation for being unshakable, but something stopped. Marcus. The pen had been sitting on the table for at least 3 days. Marcus had seen it during his evening sweeps. He'd walked past it a dozen times, never giving it a second thought. It blended in perfectly with the flowers. The books, the personal items that had accumulated. During Kate's stay, which meant whoever placed it knew exactly what they were doing, and it also meant the device had been recording for 72 hours. Marcus felt his stomach turn. Conversations, private moments, medical discussions, phone calls with William, moments with the children, all of it potentially captured. He carefully set the pen down, pulling out his phone. His finger hovered over James's number. Then he stopped. Something didn't add up. The security protocols for Kate's stay had been designed by James himself. Every visitor logged, every staff member vetted, every item brought into the suite inspected and documented. Marcus walked to the small desk near the window and opened the security log on his tablet. He scrolled through the entries, his eyes scanning each line. Day 1, flowers from the palace, books from home. Personal toiletries. Day 2, more flowers, a laptop. Children's drawings. Day 3. This was when the pen appeared. Marcus found the entry. Personal items delivered from Kensington Palace. Contents: stationery set, reading materials, comfort items. Proved by J. Lockhart. Marcus felt his blood run cold. James had personally approved the delivery. James, who never missed a detail. James, who had taught Marcus everything he knew about protection work. The door handle turned. Marcus spun around, his hand instinctively moving to his waist. But it was just Sarah, one of the nurses, poking her head in. "Just checking the room before the princess returns," she said cheerfully. "All clear," Marcus replied, his voice steady, despite the storm in his chest. Sarah smiled and withdrew. Marcus looked back at the pen. He had 2 choices. Report this immediately and potentially accuse his mentor of the greatest security breach in modern royal history, or investigate quietly and risk everything if he was wrong. The sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway. Kate was coming. Backed, Marcus grabbed the pen and slipped it into his pocket. He had just made a decision. That would change everything. Asterisk the weight of the pen. In Marcus's pocket felt like a stone as Kate entered the room, supported by her physical therapist. She looked tired, but managed a warm smile. "All right, Marcus?" she asked, settling into the armchair by the window. "Perfectly fine, ma'am," Marcus replied, positioning himself by the door as protocol demanded, but nothing was fine. As Kate rested, Marcus's mind churned. He needed to examine the pen properly, but he couldn't risk doing it here. The device might still be transmitting. Someone could be watching him, right? Now through the hospital's security cameras, he waited until his shift ended at 8 o'clock. James Lockhart arrived to take over, looking crisp in his dark suit despite the long day. "Quiet evening?" James asked, his eyes scanning the room with practiced efficiency. "Very quiet," Marcus said, watching his boss carefully. James's face revealed nothing. The same stern but professional expression he always wore. For a moment, Marcus wondered if he'd made a terrible mistake. Maybe there was a simple explanation. Maybe the pen was just a pen. But then James's eyes landed on the bedside table. The spot where the pen had been. Something flickered across his face. Just for a second. So brief that anyone else would have missed it, Marcus saw it. A tightening around the eyes. A slight hesitation in his movement. James knew the pen was gone. Marcus left the hospital with his heart pounding. He drove home on autopilot, checking his mirrors every few seconds. The London streets were slick with rain, the headlights of other cars creating streaks of light in his peripheral vision. His flat was in Pimlico, a modest one-bedroom he'd lived in since joining the protection unit. He locked the door behind him, drew the curtains, and placed the pen on his kitchen table under a bright lamp, with trembling fingers. He unscrewed the cap. Inside was a micro SD card. Smaller than his thumbnail, Marcus had a friend. Danny Chen, a tech analyst who'd worked with Scotland Yard before going private. They'd trained together years ago. If anyone could tell him what was on this card without raising alarms, it was Danny. He called from a burner phone he kept for emergencies. "It's Marcus. I need a favor tonight. It's urgent." Danny lived in Shoreditch, above a noodle shop. His flat was a chaos of computer equipment, cables snaking across every surface. The glow of multiple monitors cast blue light across his face as he examined the SD card. "Where did you get this?" Danny asked, his voice low. "I can't tell you that." "Marcus, this is professional-grade surveillance equipment. Military spec. This isn't some private investigator nonsense. Can you access it or not?" Danny inserted the card into an isolated computer, one not connected to any network. His fingers flew across the keyboard. Lines of code scrolled down the screen. Then the first video file appeared. Marcus's stomach dropped. The footage was crystal clear. Kate, sitting in her hospital bed, speaking on her phone. The audio was perfect. Every word captured. "Play it," Marcus said quietly. Danny clicked. Kate's voice filled the small room. She was talking to William. About the children. About her recovery. About when she could come home. Personal, private, intimate. "There are 47 files," Danny said, his face pale. 72 hours of footage. It's all time-stamped and organized. Marcus leaned against the wall, his legs suddenly weak. This wasn't just a security breach. This was surveillance. Calculated. Professional. "Can you tell who accessed it?" Marcus asked. Danny worked in silence for several minutes. Then he shook his head. The device was set to record automatically. "But look at this." He pulled up a file directory. These videos were being uploaded remotely. There's a transmission log. Someone was receiving this data in real time. "Can you trace where it was going?" "Give me time." But Marcus, whoever did this, knows what they're doing. These are encrypted channels, routed through multiple servers. This is intelligence-level work. Marcus felt the room spinning. This was bigger than he'd imagined. Bigger than James. Bigger than a rogue security officer. "How long do you need?" Marcus asked. 48 hours? Maybe less. Marcus nodded. He couldn't wait that long, but he needed the information. As he left Danny's flat, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Come alone." Waterloo Bridge? Midnight? J. James knew. Asterisk Waterloo Bridge at midnight was almost empty. The Thames stretched black below, the city lights dancing on its surface. A cold wind cut through Marcus's jacket as he waited, hands in his pockets. James appeared from the shadows like a ghost. No car, no backup. Just a man in a dark coat, his face unreadable. "He took the pen," James said. Not a question. Marcus didn't deny it. Why? James moved to the railing, looking out over the water. For a long moment, he didn't speak. When he finally did, his voice was different. Tired, older. Much do you know? Enough. Military-grade surveillance. Remote transmission. Someone's been watching her for 3 days. James closed his eyes. It's worse than that. Marcus felt his chest tighten. Explain. 6 months ago, I was approached by a man. He said he worked for a private intelligence firm. They wanted information. Nothing classified. Just schedules. Movement patterns. They offered money. A lot of money. You said no? Marcus's voice was flat. Of course I said no. James turned to face him, and in the streetlight, Marcus could see the anguish on his mentor's face. But they didn't stop. They found out about my daughter, Rebecca. Marcus knew about Rebecca. James rarely talked about her, but Marcus knew she was sick. Some kind of rare condition that required constant treatment. They said they could help her, James continued, his voice breaking. Experimental treatment. In Switzerland, the kind the NHS doesn't cover. The kind that costs more than I'll make in my lifetime. Asterisk, so you gave them access? No. James's shout echoed across the bridge. He lowered his voice. I refused. I told them to go to hell. But then Rebecca got worse. The doctors said she had months, maybe weeks. The silence between them was heavy. No. James's shout echoed across the bridge. He lowered his voice. I refused. I told them to go to hell. But then Rebecca got worse. The doctor said she had months, maybe weeks. The silence between them was heavy. I didn't plant the pen, James said finally. I swear to you, Marcus, I didn't do it. But I approved the delivery without checking it properly. They told me it was just stationary. Said if I flagged it, if I inspected it, Rebecca would never get her treatment. Marcus felt sick. Who are they? I don't know. The man never gave me a real name. All our communication was through encrypted messages. But Marcus, they're inside. They knew exactly when Kate would be there. They knew the security protocols. They knew which delivery I would personally approve. Why are you telling me this now? James pulled out his phone, showing Marcus a message. The officer took the device. Eliminate the problem. Both of them. Marcus's blood ran cold. Both you and the pen? They know you have it, and they know you're a threat. Footsteps echoed from the far end of the bridge. 2 figures emerged from the darkness. They walked with purpose, their hands in their jackets. Run, James said quietly. What about you? I'm done running. James turned to face the approaching men. I made my choice. I let them use me, but I won't let them hurt you. Or her. James, the tech analyst you visited tonight. Danny Chen. They know about him too. You need to get to him before they do. The men were 50 feet away now. 40. James pulled out his service weapon. Go! He shouted. Marcus ran. Behind him he heard shouting. Then a gunshot that echoed across the river like thunder. He didn't look back. His hands shook as he dialed Danny's number, sprinting through the narrow streets near the bridge. The call went to voicemail. He tried again. Nothing. Marcus's lungs burned as he flagged down a taxi. Shoreditch, fast. I'll pay double. The drive felt like an eternity. Every red light, every slow-moving car made Marcus want to scream. He checked his phone obsessively. No messages. No calls. Another gunshot would have been heard by now. Police would be swarming Waterloo Bridge. James was either dead or arrested. Because of him. The taxi screeched to a stop outside the noodle shop. Marcus threw cash at the driver and bolted up the stairs to Danny's flat. The door was ajar. Marcus's training kicked in. He pulled out his phone's flashlight, pushing the door open slowly. Danny? The flat was dark. The computers were still on, their screens casting an eerie glow. But something was wrong. The air smelled like copper. Marcus stepped inside. Danny was slumped over his keyboard, a pool of blood spreading across the desk. But his chest was still moving, barely. Danny. Marcus rushed over, pressing his hands against the wound in Danny's side. Stay with me. I'm calling an ambulance. Danny's hand gripped Marcus's wrist with surprising strength. His lips moved, barely whispering. Traced. The signal. Don't talk. Save your strength. The uploads went to Kensington Palace. Marcus froze. The blood drained from his face. Inside job, Danny whispered, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. Someone. In the palace. Selling information? His eyes rolled back. Marcus called for help, his mind reeling. The surveillance wasn't external. It was coming from inside the royal household itself. The ambulance arrived in 4 minutes. Danny was rushed to the Royal London Hospital, unconscious, but alive. Marcus gave a statement to the police, telling them he'd found Danny like this, omitting the part about surveillance equipment and palace conspiracies. He couldn't trust anyone now, in Danny's flat. While the forensics team worked, Marcus had managed to pocket the external hard drive Danny had been using. It was small, easily concealed. It contained everything. The videos, the transmission logs, the trace Danny had started before he was attacked, proof that someone inside. Kensington Palace was selling royal intelligence, but proof wasn't enough. Marcus needed to know who Dottie sat in his car outside the hospital as dawn broke over London. His phone had 17 missed calls from the palace security office. They knew he'd missed his shift. They'd be looking for him. He needed help, real help. Someone outside the system who could move without being detected. There was only one person he could think of, Victoria Ashford. She'd been royal protection before Marcus, one of the first women in the unit. She'd left 5 years ago after exposing a corruption scandal involving a senior palace official. The official was quietly retired. Victoria was quietly forced out. She ran a private security consultancy now. But Marcus knew she still had contacts everywhere. More importantly, she had no loyalty to the current palace administration. He found her at a cafe in Mayfair, reading the morning paper. She looked up as he approached, her sharp eyes assessing him in seconds. "You look terrible, Webb," she said. "I need your help." "So I gathered." "Sit." Marcus told her everything. The pen, James. Danny, the trace to Kensington Palace. Victoria listened without interrupting, her expression growing darker with each detail. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Do you have the drive?" she asked. Marcus patted his jacket pocket. "Then you have a target on your back the size of Big Ben." She leaned forward. "You've stumbled into something much bigger than you realize. Explain." Victoria glanced around the cafe, then lowered her voice. "There's been talk. Rumors. Nothing concrete. But some of us who left the service, we've been comparing notes. Strange incidents. Security breaches that were explained away too easily. Information leaking about royal movements that shouldn't have leaked. How long? At least 2 years. Maybe longer. We thought it was just incompetence. Sloppiness. But this, She tapped the table. "This is organized, professional. Someone's been running an operation inside the palace. They've been doing it right under everyone's nose." Marcus felt his head spinning. 2 years. How much had been compromised in that time? Who would have access to plant that pen in the delivery? Victoria asked. It came from Kensington Palace. Personal items from Kate's private quarters. That means it was packed by someone in the household staff. How many people would that be? Could be dozens, housekeepers, assistants, private secretaries, anyone with access to her personal items. Victoria pulled out her phone, typing rapidly. "I still have friends in the household. Let me make some calls." Discreetly. While she worked, Marcus checked the news on his phone. Nothing about James yet. Nothing about Danny. Whoever these people were, they were containing the situation fast. Victoria hung up her third call, her face grim. 3 staff members from Kate's household have been on leave since the day after she went into hospital, she said. 1 housekeeper. 1 assistant. 1 private secretary. That's suspicious. It gets worse. The assistant's apartment was cleared out yesterday. Neighbors said they saw her leave with suitcases. In a hurry, Marcus felt his pulse quicken. What's her name? Claire Morrison. 28. Been with the household for 4 years. Impeccable record. No red flags during her background check. Can we find her? Victoria made another call. This one lasted less than a minute. Heathrow, she said, standing up. She booked a flight to Dubai under her own name. Leaves in 90 minutes. They made it to Heathrow in 40 minutes. Victoria's driving as aggressive as her personality. Terminal 5 was crowded with morning travelers, rolling suitcases and coffee cups creating a constant flow of movement. "Hi there," Victoria said. Pointing, Claire Morrison stood at the Emirates check-in counter. Young, blonde, ordinary-looking. She could have been any traveler. But Marcus noticed the way her eyes kept scanning the crowd. The tension in her shoulders. She was scared. "We need to talk to her before she goes through security," Marcus said. They moved through the crowd, trying to look casual. But Claire saw them. Her eyes widened in recognition, and then fear. She abandoned her suitcase and ran. Marcus and Victoria gave chase, weaving through startled passengers. Claire was fast, dodging around families and luggage carts with practiced ease. She made it to the escalator leading to the departure level. Marcus was 10 feet behind. Then she stopped, turned, and Marcus saw why. At the top of the escalator stood 2 men in dark suits. The same 2 from Waterloo Bridge. Claire was trapped between them. Her face went pale. She looked at Marcus, and in that moment, he saw genuine terror. "Oh me," she mouthed. One of the men reached into his jacket. Victoria was already moving. "Gun!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the terminal like a knife. Chaos erupted, screaming, people dropping to the floor, security guards running toward them. In the confusion, Marcus grabbed Claire's arm and pulled her behind a support pillar. Victoria was shouting at the armed men, her hands raised, drawing their attention. "Who are they?" Marcus demanded. "I don't know," Claire sobbed. "I swear, I don't know. I was just paid to plant the pen. They said it was for her protection. That there'd been threats? Who paid you? I never met them. Everything was through encrypted messages. Money in cash. I didn't know it was surveillance. I thought I was helping." Gunfire erupted. Not from the men in suits. From airport security, firing warning shots into the air, the 2 men ran. Disappearing into the panicked crowd, Marcus held Claire close as armed police swarmed the area, shouting orders, securing the scene, but Marcus's mind was racing. If Claire didn't know who hired her, then whoever was running this operation was still out there. Still hidden, and they wouldn't stop until everyone who knew about the pen was dead. The interrogation room at Heathrow's security office was small and cold. Marcus sat across from Claire Morrison while Victoria dealt with the armed police outside. They had maybe 20 minutes before MI5 arrived and took over completely. Claire's hand shook as she wrapped them around a cup of tea someone had brought her. Her makeup was smeared from crying, her carefully styled hair now a mess. "Tell me everything," Marcus said, his voice firm but not unkind. "From the beginning." Claire took a shaky breath. "It started 6 months ago. I got a message on my phone. Unknown number. They said they had information about my brother. Your brother. He's in prison. Financial fraud. 3 years into a 7-year sentence." But her voice cracked. The message said they could get his sentence reduced. Get him transferred to a better facility. All I had to do was small favors. Nothing illegal. Marcus leaned forward. "What kind of favors?" "At first, just information. What time the princess left for appointments? What routes the security team preferred. Little things that seemed harmless. They paid well. £1,000 here, 2,000 there. Then they asked you to plant the pen." Claire nodded, tears streaming down her face. "They said there'd been threats against her. That the regular security wasn't enough. They said this was extra protection, that people high up in the government had approved it." I believed them. "When did you realize it wasn't legitimate?" 2 days ago. My brother called me from prison. He said men had come to see him. Told him if I didn't cooperate fully, he'd never leave prison alive. That's when I knew I'd been used." Marcus felt a flash of sympathy, quickly suppressed. "Did they ever give you a name? Any detail about who they were?" "No names. But one time, when they sent me money, the envelope had a crest on it, like a stamp or something. I didn't think much of it at the time. What kind of crest? I don't know. It looked official, like something government-related. I threw it away. Marcus's mind raced. A crest could mean anything. Military, intelligence services. Even royal warrant holders had crests. Victoria opened the door, her face tense. We have a problem. MI5 is here. And they brought someone from the palace. Marcus's stomach dropped. Who? Sir Edmund Hartley. The Queen's private secretary, Sir Edmund. Marcus knew the name. Everyone in royal protection did. He was one of the most powerful people in the entire royal household. A gatekeeper. A fixer. A man who'd served the crown for 40 years. And he was here personally. For a security incident at an airport, that wasn't normal protocol. We need to leave, Marcus said. Standing? Too late? Victoria replied. They're outside. They want Claire. And they want you. The door opened. Sir Edmund Hartley entered like he owned the room. 70 years old, but straight-backed, impeccably dressed, his silver hair perfectly styled. Behind him came to MI5 agents, their faces blank and professional. Mr. Webb, Sir Edmund said, his voice carrying the weight of generations of authority. You've caused quite a disturbance. Someone's been spying on the Princess of Wales, Marcus said. I'd call that a disturbance. Sir Edmund's eyes flickered to Claire, then back to Marcus. Miss Morrison has already been briefed on the severity of her actions. She'll be dealt with appropriately. As for you, I believe you have something that belongs to the crown. The hard drive. I have evidence, Marcus corrected. Evidence of a security breach. Evidence that someone inside Kensington Palace has been selling royal intelligence. Strong accusations.
Oh, no, sir.
Edmund moved closer, his eyes cold. Do you have any proof to support these claims? Marcus's hand moved to his jacket pocket. The hard drive was there, small and solid against his ribs. But something made him hesitate. Sir Edmund's eyes. The way they watched him. Not surprised. Not curious. Knowing. Danny Chen traced the transmission. Marcus said carefully, watching Sir Edmund's face. The recordings were being uploaded to a server inside Kensington Palace. Someone with high-level access. Sir Edmund's expression didn't change. Not even a flicker. That's when Marcus knew. It was you, he said quietly. The room went silent. Victoria's hand moved to her concealed weapon. The MI5 agents... Sir Edmund smiled. It was a cold, terrible smile. You're cleverer than James gave you credit for, he said. He always said you were too rigid. To buy the book. Turns out he was wrong. Why? Marcus's voice was steady, but his heart hammered in his chest. Sir Edmund laughed, a harsh sound. Because I've spent 40 years cleaning up after these people. Covering their scandals, managing their disasters. Sacrificing my life, my privacy, my family, all for the privilege of serving a family that treats staff like furniture. He walked to the window. Looking out over the tarmac, do you know what I'm paid, Mr. Webb? Less than a mid-level banker. I've made kings and queens look good. I've buried stories that would have destroyed the monarchy. And for what? A pension and a knighthood. So you sold them out, Victoria said, disgust in her voice. I monetized my access, Sir Edmund corrected. Various interested parties pay very well for information about royal movements. Medical conditions, private conversations, the Chinese, the Russians, private intelligence firms, even some of our own tabloid press. Marcus felt sick. Kate trusted you. Kate trusts everyone. Sir Edmund turned back, his face hardening. She's naive. They all are. They live in palaces and preach about service, while people like me do the real work in the shadows. James is dead because of you, Marcus said. James was weak. He let sentiment cloud his judgment. His daughter was dying, and he still tried to do the right thing. Pathetic. Marcus's fists clenched. Danny Chen is in hospital, fighting for his life. Unfortunate. But necessary. He knew too much, and now what? You kill all of us? Make this go away? Sir Edmund glanced at the MI5 agents. They stepped forward, their hands inside their jackets. Actually, Sir Edmund said, you're going to give me that hard drive. Then you're going to be arrested for theft of Crown property, assault on Miss Morrison, and conspiracy to sell royal intelligence. Your career will be destroyed, your credibility gone. And I'll continue my work, the videos, Marcus said. Evidence of your treason. You think I didn't make copies? Sir Edmund's smile widened. Of course, you made copies, which is why, in exactly 3 minutes, every device registered to you, to Mr. Chen, and to Miss Ashford will be remotely wiped. Insurance policy. Victoria pulled out her phone. The screen was blank, dead. Marcus's phone was the same. Sir Edmund had thought of everything. The hard drive, Mr. Webb now. Psst. Marcus looked at Claire, at Victoria. At the armed agents, he reached into his pocket and made a choice that would change the fate of the crown. Asterisk. Marcus pulled the hard drive from his pocket. He held it up, letting Sir Edmund see it clearly. Then he threw it out the window. The small device sailed through the air, falling for stories to the tarmac below, where it shattered under the wheels of a passing service vehicle. Sir Edmund's face went white with rage. You fool. That was your only leverage. Was it? Marcus said calmly. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Sir Edmund's face. The drive was a decoy, Marcus continued. Did you really think I'd walk in here with the only copy? You taught me better than that. You always said never trust technology with important secrets. It was a bluff. A complete bluff. But Marcus delivered it with absolute confidence. Sir Edmund's eyes narrowed. You're lying, am I? Think about it. Danny Chen had 4 hours before he was attacked. 4 hours with access to military-grade encryption and a dozen cloud servers. Where do you think he uploaded everything before you got to him? The MI5 agents looked at each other, uncertain. Even if that were true, Sir Edmund said, though his voice had lost some of its confidence, you have no way to access it now. Your devices are wiped. Your associate is in a coma. You have nothing. Wrong again, Victoria said quietly. I have it. She pulled out a USB drive from inside her jacket lining. Small, innocuous, but the effect was electric. Danny sent it to me an hour before the attack, Victoria continued, her voice steady. Full transmission logs. Every video file. Complete trace of the server locations, names, dates, money transfers, everything. She was lying too. Marcus could tell, but she sold it perfectly. Sir Edmund's composure cracked. Give me that now or what? Victoria smiled coldly. You'll have your agents shoot us in front of witnesses? In an airport? This room has cameras, Sir Edmund. You think your reach extends that far? The MI5 agents shifted uncomfortably. They were loyal, but they weren't stupid. This was spiraling beyond their mandate. Stand down, one of them said quietly to Sir Edmund. This needs to go higher. You work for me, Sir Edmund hissed. You work for the crown, the agent corrected. Not for you. The moment hung in the air like a blade. Then Claire Morrison spoke up, her voice small but clear. I recorded our conversations, she said. Everyone turned to look at her. The messages. The calls. Everything they told me to do. I was scared, so I kept records. My solicitor has them. In a sealed envelope. If anything happens to me, he opens it.
No.
Sir Edmund's face was ashen now. The walls were closing in. Victoria pressed her advantage. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to sit in this room. These agents are going to contact the Attorney General directly. Not through your channels. Direct. And you're going to confess everything. Endeavor, Sir Edmund spat. Then the drive goes public, Marcus said. Every news outlet, every intelligence service. The whole world sees how you betrayed the crown you swore to serve. You wouldn't dare. The damage to the monarchy would be your legacy, Victoria finished. Not ours. We tried to stop you. We have proof we tried. You're the traitor. Not us. Sir Edmund looked around the room like a trapped animal. His empire of secrets was crumbling. 40 years of power, gone in minutes. He sat down heavily in a chair. "I want immunity," he said quietly. "Not our call," the MI5 agent replied, already on his phone. "But cooperation will be noted." The next 6 hours were a blur. Real MI6 arrived. Then people from places Marcus didn't even know existed. Claire was taken into protective custody. Victoria gave her statement, every word carefully calibrated to protect them, while damning Sir Edmund. Marcus sat in a different room, watching through one-way glass as Sir Edmund. Hartley confessed to 18 months of selling royal intelligence to 5 different foreign powers and 3 private firms. James Lockhart's body had been found near Waterloo Bridge. He'd been shot twice, but had managed to wound one of his attackers before dying. The wounded man had been arrested. He was talking, desperate for a deal. The web was unraveling fast. Danny Chen woke up 3 days later. Marcus was there, sitting beside his hospital bed when his eyes opened. "Did we get them?" Danny whispered. "We got them," Marcus confirmed. Danny smiled weakly. "Good. Tell me. I at least get a medal or something. You get to live. That's better." 1 week later, Marcus stood in a private office at Kensington Palace. Kate Middleton sat across from him, recovered now, though the events had clearly shaken her. "I wanted to thank you personally," she said. "What you did? The risk you took. Most people would have looked the other way." "I was just doing my job, ma'am." "No, you went far beyond your job. Sir Edmund was someone I trusted. Someone my family trusted. To learn what he'd been doing," she paused, collecting herself, "you protected not just my privacy, but my children's safety. That's not just duty. That's courage." Marcus didn't know what to say to that. "There will be an inquiry, of course," Kate continued. "The whole security apparatus is being reviewed. New protocols. New leadership. And I've been told you're being considered for a position in that new structure." "I'm honored, ma'am. But I think I need some time away from all this." Kate nodded, understanding. "Whatever you need, the door is always open." As Marcus left the palace for the last time as a protection officer, his phone rang. "Victoria, did it go?" she asked. "She offered me a promotion, and I turned it down. I'm thinking maybe private sector consulting. I hear there's a good firm in Mayfair." Victoria laughed. "Interesting. I might know someone. Come by tomorrow. We'll talk." Marcus stood on the palace grounds, looking up at the building where so much history had been made, where secrets had been kept and betrayed, where one man's greed had almost destroyed everything. But it hadn't, because of a pen that wasn't just a pen. And a guard who refused to look away. 3 months later, Sir Edmund Hartley pleaded guilty to treason and was sentenced to 25 years. Claire Morrison received immunity in exchange for her testimony and entered witness protection. The 2 men who'd attacked James and Danny were sentenced to life. James Lockhart was given a quiet funeral with full honors. His daughter Rebecca received the treatment she needed, funded by a private donation from an anonymous source. She was in remission. Marcus never told anyone that he and Victoria had pooled their savings to pay for it. Some secrets were worth keeping. Danny recovered fully and now worked exclusively for Victoria's firm, handling their most sensitive digital investigations. And the recording pen. It sat in an evidence locker somewhere in MI5 headquarters, a reminder that the smallest things can bring down the mightiest empires. Marcus Webb walked away from royal protection, but he never forgot the lesson. Stay vigilant. Trust your instincts. And never assume that something ordinary is just ordinary. Because sometimes a pen is never just a pen. And the people you're meant to protect aren't always who you think they are.